And so you've reached that goal, and the tendency of human nature is to relax. Hey man, I accomplished it. I achieved it. Let me relax. Hey, I won the championship. Finally, I get to relax. Hey, I finished first place. I finally get to relax. The tendency is if you go from 0 to 100, some people relax to 80. Some people relax to 70. Some people relax all the way back to 50 or less. Because if you say, man, I already made it to 100, what's easier to relax from? Man, I'm already here at 100. Or, man, I'm back to 0. What creates more drive and motivation? What creates more of an oh shit moment to keep going? Man, I'm already here. I already made it. I'm at 100. That mentality is going to let you relax back to 80, 70, 60, 50. But man, I'm at 100, but shit, I feel like I'm back to 0. That's going to give you the drive and motivation to push forward and sustain. People ask me, what drives you, man? You have a beautiful family. You have supercar. You have a nice house. You have all these things. What keeps you going? Honestly, it's that fear of going back to 0. Manufactured in my head or wherever it comes from, it's back to 0 so that I can feel urgent and go after it full force with domination in my mind every single day. Yo, what is up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Yun Win, affectionately called the Ninja or Prolific Ninja by my family and friends, and because you are my family and friends as well, you can call me Ninja too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, drive, motivation, success, self-improvement, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Back in the studio, I am on day 2 of a 72-hour water fast. So a little bit loopy in my brain as my body gets adjusted. But man, these fasts have been fantastic. I did my first 3-day water fast after watching Dana White's video, but this was towards the end of 75 Hard last fall, and it was so beneficial to me that I committed to myself to do a water fast monthly on the last 3 full days of like Sunday to Wednesday or Monday to Thursday of the month. But because I was in trial last week, obviously couldn't do it. So this is the makeup. Feeling good though, feeling phenomenal, light, airy. I highly recommend it. And just for food for thought, when I do the water fast, the physiological effect, I don't get hunger pains, surprisingly. There's no like a physical pain. The thing is mental. Like you're trying to break the mental habit of time and food. Like, hey, it's 8 a.m. I should be eating breakfast. Hey, it's noon. I should eat something for lunch. It's not that your body is requiring it. It's just that your mind is habitually trained for it. So that, for me, was the hardest part but around these 3-day water fasts. But it is phenomenal for my health. There's so many health benefits. Look it up if you want to. I might do a whole episode on it. But anyway, a little bit loopy here. We're going to give it a shot. And before I start the actual episode, I want to start the episode as I start my day. If you're new to the show, if you've been listening for a while, you know I wake up every morning, give thanks to God, the universe, for another day, another opportunity to inspire and be great. And with that, I want to thank you all, my supporters, my fans out there, friends, people that have liked, comment, followed, especially shared the episode with their family and friends. That's the only way we grow our show. I do the show on my own dime, on my own time. So we spend money, spend time. There's a production crew. They do all this stuff, set up cameras in the studio. No, we don't get paid sponsors. So the only way we get our message out and accomplish our mission, and that's mine and yours, is sharing the show. We're trying to inspire billions of people across the planet to live to their fullest controllable potential, and we're doing that. The feedback and the messages I've been getting has been phenomenal. So thank you very much. And, I do this show on a value exchange. So I hope you get value out of this episode or any other episode that I've posted. We're in triple digits, which is fantastic. Every time I think about it, it's crazy in my mind that, starting a little over 2 years ago, we had like 0 listeners. Now we're in the tens and tens and tens of thousands of followers across all platforms and getting the message out. It's just crazy. And so we do this on a value exchange, and clearly there's some value here. So if you're knowledge swole, I like to say, if you're knowledge swole, share the show. That is how we grow. Weird, I forgot my cap. Anyway, This particular episode is about leveling up. When I was young, very young, my dad would always say, hey, it's very easy to make money. It's very easy to make money. The hard part is keeping it and growing it. And now that I've had a modicum of success, in my 40 years of life, that can't be more true. Because what happens is each time you level up to a point of success, imagine you're at baseline, you're at 0, you go to 100. The tendency is to let your foot off the gas, to take some steam off, because you've quote unquote arrived to a certain point. You've accomplished a certain goal. Hey, I want to make $1 million. You make $1 million. And so you've reached that goal. And the tendency of human nature is to relax. Hey, man, I accomplished it. I achieved it. Let me relax. Hey, I won the championship. Finally, I get to relax. Hey, I finished first place. I finally get to relax. The tendency is if you go from 0 to 100, some people relax to 80. Some people relax to 70. Some people relax all the way back to 50 or less. Right? But it's human nature. I've gotten here. I've tried. I've worked so hard. I've done so many things. I've sacrificed so much. Let me just release the pressure off myself for a little while. And then what happens? You fall back into the old habits that prevented your success in the first place. And so you don't maintain that level of where you achieved. You fall back. That is human nature. Okay? So going back to what my father told me, it's easy to make that money. It's very hard to keep it and grow. Okay? The challenge then is, what do the champions do? Right? What do the leaders do? I mean, sports is a great analogy. All the great champions that have won multiple championships, they just treat the goal as an expectation, understand that they've gotten there, and then they reset their goal to the next one. Fast. Now, I'm not saying don't celebrate your wins, but don't bathe in them. Don't sit in them and rest and let your guard down because you got there. You have to train yourself to reposition yourself that your new baseline is back to 0. So that's what I use in my mind. That's what I'm currently struggling with, is how to reset to 0. So in my mind, my theme, every time I've accomplished a goal, reset to 0. And what does that mean? You go from 0, you bust your ass, you're working hard, you're sacrificing all this pressure to succeed, all this, hate from haters, all this doubt, all this failure, everything. You're building yourself up to 100. And so rather than falling back to 50, you reestablish that 100 as you're back to 0. So that 100 becomes the new 0 mentally. You're still at 100. In the real world, you're still at 100, but positionally, relatively in your mind, you put yourself as back to 0. That 100 is back to 0. And when you do that, you understand that all the habits, all the things that you've built from 0, the original 0 to 100, is what is required just to stay at 0, the new 100. So all that sacrifice, everything you've done leading up to it, the pain, all that is now the new expectation. You got to do that in order to elevate to 200. So that 100 with everything below that you did, that becomes your new 0. Okay? So the tactic here, it's not a hack, it's a tactic, is when you've accomplished a goal, hey, I won the championship, but now I'm back to 0 because I won another one. Okay? You've won it. You've established that, but that establishment is a 0. So all that training you did to win that championship, that is your new baseline. That is your 0. So you have to keep doing those things. And now you're stacking more skills on top of that to get to 200. And once you hit 200, guess what? You're back to zero. And everything you've done from zero, the original zero, all the way up through to 200, that becomes the new standard as zero. So you have to continue to do everything from 0 to 200 to grow to 300 and so on and so forth. So every plateau is a new zero. That is how you keep and maintain your success, your wealth, your whatever, right? And that involves all the failures too. You might have setbacks, you rebuild, and whatever you did to rebuild, you add that to your zero. We might settle a case for $1 million. Does that mean we rest off on all our other cases? No. We keep going. Whatever we did to get that $1 million, now we're adding more skills and more knowledge to get to the next million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, etc. Right? Y'all know that from the last episode, I got poured out by the jury on this $10 million trial. Two things I want to say about that. One side comment is anecdotally, we have information that the judge actually was incredulous, could not believe the jury came back with that verdict. In other words, the judge felt we won the case. So never leave it into the hands of the judges. Ask any prize fighter, any MMA, any competition. Never leave it into the hands of the jury or the judges. But the second comment is our new zero based on that experience is what? We took a wrongful death case to the jury all the way. So that sends a message to insurance companies and so on. We took a commercial case all the way to the jury. Sends another message to the insurance companies or whatever. But all those lessons we learned along this 2-week trial, that's our new zero. So that next time we come around again, oh yeah, we're going for it. We're going for it even harder because we know what we could have done better or where we made some judgment errors or whatever. That's the new zero. That's how you continue to grow. So the tactic again is every time you accomplish a goal or reach a deadline or reach a milestone, we are back to zero. Back to zero. Think about it. Back to zero. Now, you might spin a negative context. Why keep going back to zero? Because it leaves you with a no other option mentality. It leaves you with that urgency. It leaves you with that, holy shit, I need to keep working to sustain mentality or vibe in your mind subconsciously. Right? Because if you say, man, I already made it to 100, what's easier to relax from? Man, I'm already here at 100. Or, man, I'm back to zero. What creates more drive and motivation? What creates more of an oh shit moment to keep going? Man, I'm already here. I already made it. I'm at 100. That mentality is going to let you relax back to 80, 70, 60, 50. But man, I'm at 100, but shit, I feel like I'm back to zero. That's going to give you the drive and motivation to push forward and sustain. That's why you see so many people, they hit it once or twice, make good money. You know, they close a big deal, they make good money one time. But then what happens 1, 3, 5, 10 years later? You see them back again to where they started. Because they couldn't maintain, they couldn't sustain that dog killer, whatever urgency mentality to sustain and keep going. And so to manufacture, it's not false, but to manufacture a sense of urgency, a sense of, man, I still got to go. I still got to push. You got to say, I'm back to zero. I got a big ass house, estate, got beautiful cars, successful business. And I feel like I'm back to zero. I tell myself all the time, I'm back to zero. Because theoretically, if I make a big mistake, I could lose it all, and I'm literally back to zero. And, growing up with nothing as refugees from Vietnam with zero, just the clothes on our backs, I don't want to go back to zero in the real world. Where I am now is way much better than zero. But if I'm not a good custodian, if I'm not a good a caretaker of what I have and focus on continuing to grow what I have, then it could very well easily go back to zero. And so people ask me, what drives you, man? You have a beautiful family, you have supercar, you have a nice house, you have all these things. What keeps you going? Honestly, it's that fear of going back to zero. Manufactured in my head or wherever it comes from, it's back to zero. Back to zero so that I can feel urgent and go after it full force with domination in my mind every single day. Dominate, dominate, dominate. How do I dominate the day? How do I dominate this case? How do I whatever? How do I dominate this project? Right? That's what it is. Like, I don't know where I am. I'm probably at level 5,000 if you really were to mark all the milestones in my life. 5,000, I'm still at zero. The dudes above me or the women and men above me that are at level 10,000, I guarantee you they feel back to zero. They feel as if they're at zero because they keep driving, they keep moving, they keep acting, they keep deciding, they keep taking action, they keep executing, they keep planning. They do all these things because in the back of their mind, they know that this could all go away real quick. And so you have to maintain. And trust me, there are days when myself, people way above me, they don't feel like doing shit. It's like, man, this day sucks. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm on a second day of a 3-day water fast. My mind is not completely here, etc., whatever. But they still get after it because why? They create that urgency to sustain and grow where they are. And one way to do that is put yourself in that back to zero mentality. Back to zero. I'm back at zero. I got to put in the work. I got to continue to grow. I got to build on top of where I am. Because if not, you will go back to zero in a real world way. And that's not what we want. We want to build momentum. We want to build success on top of success. And the only way to do that is each time you level up, tell yourself you're back at zero. That's going to give you that urgency that's required to reach even higher goals and higher levels of success. So, back in the studio, glad to be back with you. Back to zero every day in my mind. I'm back to zero. But if you enjoyed this episode, learned something, provoked your mind to think about a back to zero mentality, please do share the show. Please do share the show. If you're knowledge swole, share the show. That is how we grow. Please do share the show. I'm going to end the episode as I end every day. Before my head hits the pillow, I thank God, the universe, for another day to have lived, have hopefully inspired somebody to be great. And so with that, I want to thank you all for liking, commenting, following, sharing the show, especially sharing the show. We want to continue to grow. And with that, look forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon.